And welcome to our Board of Commissioners meeting on February 9th, 2021. I will call this meeting to order and ask the city clerk to please call roll.
Commissioner Gold,
Present.
Commissioner Guess,
Present.
Commissioner Henderson,
Present.
Commissioner Wilson,
Present.
Mayor Bray.
Present. I actually had planned to lead the invocation tonight, so please bow our heads and pray. Thank you, Almighty Father, for the blessings you have granted upon this community and the families that live here. Please bestow wisdom, determination, persistence, and patience upon our leaders as we undertake our city's business. Please, Lord, help keep all of us safe as we work through the process to administer vaccines to our citizens, especially those who are most vulnerable. Help us to always make sure that we set an example for our community and that we listen to our citizens for input and that we welcome constructive debate that will lead to better outcomes. And finally, Lord, we ask that as leaders, we lead with sincerity, integrity, and with a vision. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, please stand as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
City Manager, are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor, no deletions or additions.
Okay, so the first item, as usual, is the consent agenda, and the items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. The city clerk will read the items recommended for approval. City clerk, would you please read the consent agenda?
Approve minutes for the January 26, 2021 Paducah Board of Commissioners meeting. Receive and file documents. Reappointment of Corbin Snarden to the Board of Ethics. Said term shall expire February 10th, 2024. Personnel actions. A municipal order declaring the real property located at 2028 Clay Street, Paducah, Kentucky to be surplus property, accepting the bid of Maria Angelique Corti in the amount of $522.08 for purchase of said real property and authorizing the mayor to execute the deed and all documents related to same.
So moved.
Second.
City Manager, please call, or I'm sorry, City Clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guess,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. Okay, the next thing on the agenda for tonight is a resolution, and I will ask the city clerk to read it, please.
Proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners that a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Paducah Supporting the Addressing of Modernization of Kentucky's Transportation Funding Mechanisms to Address Transportation Funding Needs Throughout the Commonwealth," be adopted.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Wilson, would you like to say a few words about this one?
Sure, I'm happy to answer any questions. I would just mention that this is coming to us from the Kentucky League of Cities, as well as the Kentucky Infrastructure Coalition. It is a statewide effort to help us to get more funding for our roads and bridges throughout the state. Just to highlight a number, because of the current low prices of gas, the revenue for this coming into our cities and counties since 2015 has dropped from $850 million to $741 million. So basically, I mean, we can't be continuing to improve roads, build sidewalks, the things that we need to do that we get money from the state with if we don't have that money coming in. McCracken County Fiscal Court approved this the end of November. So it's basically the same resolution as what they've already approved as well. As well as many cities across the state.
Yeah. Any questions for Commissioner Wilson or myself? City Clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guess,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. Okay, we have a couple of municipal orders for tonight. The first one, City Clerk, would you please read?
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Authorizing the Payment to Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority for Tax Increment Financing Consultant Services in an amount of $50,000 and authorizing the execution of all documents related to same."
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, City Manager, would you want to just briefly give us a rundown on this one?
I sure will, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. This is basically the last step for the city as we prepare for accepting final approval from KEDFA for the TIF. So basically what this is a $50,000 one-time payment for administrative fee, basically, or administrative services for KEDFA. This was actually authorized by the ordinance authorizing the TIF, but I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention that this is kind of the end of the road, if you will, and by payment, this payment is required to make it official.
Yeah. Questions, comments? If not, City Clerk, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guess,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. City Clerk, would you please read the second municipal order?
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Authorizing the Mayor to Execute an FY 2020 Assistance to Firefighters Matching Grant Application and all documents necessary through the Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency in the amount of $27,000 to be used for the Paducah Fire Department to purchase a mobile air supply system that would provide on-scene air for breathing systems."
So moved.
Second.
Chief Kyle, would you mind just giving us a quick overview of this one?
Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is a air system that we would have available to us on the scene of any call that we go to. We have an air system that is a fixed air system inside the stations, but we have nothing that is mobile. And anytime we're on a fire for an extended period of time, as you may understand, we need lots of air. And this will give us the opportunity to take care of that on the scene without having to run back and forth to the station to do so.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from anyone? Okay, City Clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner
Aye.
Guess,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. Okay, we're zipping right through the agenda tonight. So we got a couple of ordinances, and I'll ask the City Clerk to read the first one.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to introduce an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Accepting the Bid of Harper Construction LLC for the City of Paducah's 2021 through 2022 concrete program and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for same." This ordinance is summarized as follows: that the city accepts the bid of Harper Construction LLC for concrete work at the unit prices and hourly rates for the calendar years 2021 and 2022 with the option of a one-year extension, and authorizes the mayor to execute a contract for the following prices: concrete removal, and replacement unit prices. Curb and gutter, remove and construct, $23 per linear foot. Curb and gutter adjacent to roadside edge, $17.50 per linear foot. Curb and gutter, new construction, $14.99 per linear foot. Concrete sidewalk, remove and construct, $37 per square yard. Concrete sidewalk, new construction, $30 per square yard. Concrete handicap ramp, $65 per square yard. Concrete entrance pavement, 6-inch residential, $58 per square yard. Concrete entrance pavement, 8-inch commercial, $64 per square yard. Concrete entrance pavement, 6 inches, $65 per square yard. Concrete entrance pavement, 8 inches, $71 per square yard. Granite curb reset with new concrete gutter, $30 per linear foot. Gutter replacement, granite concrete curb in place, $20 per linear foot. Concrete header curb, 12 inches, $14 per linear foot. Concrete header curb, 18 inches, $15 per linear foot. Non-reinforced concrete, 8 inches, $52 per square yard. Inlet repair, existing, $600 each. Reinforced concrete, new construction, Class A, $700 cubic yard. Deep saw cut, $3 per linear foot. Perforated pipe, 4 inches, $5 per linear foot. Excavation rates, including track hoe for $100 per hour, backhoe at $80 per hour, compactor roller, $70 per hour, dump truck, $90 per hour, backhoe with breaker, $90 per hour, small dozer, $90 per hour, and laborer, $35 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
Rick Murphy, would you just give us a quick overview, if you don't mind?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, City Commission, these are the things that all the items that we run into while we're doing street rehabilitation throughout the city of Paducah. For example, if you drive over on Bridge Street right now, you'll see a lot of this activity going on. And these are all the items that we encounter that we apply unit prices to for the next 2 years. And then if they want to have a 1-year renewal, if everybody's happy with the prices and the way things are going.
And a lot of those things, we bundle all that together, Rick, all those different things. We don't break those out and try to bid any of those separately.
No, because what happens is if you try to bid something separate with somebody else, then it becomes a terrible coordination issue. We have to be there ready to do all this work while we have the streets blocked off. Think of if you had 3 different contractors with 3 different of those items, the coordination of getting them in there to do that work. And okay, you get out of the way, now I go do my work. It's just terribly inefficient. So that's why we put all those things in one contract.
How many people do we actually have bid on this?
2, it was Wilkins Construction and also Harper Construction. They typically are our bidders because they do the large commercial work.
Okay.
The money used that we get from the state for roads, is that what pays for this?
Actually, the monies that we use for roads are used for asphalt.
Okay.
The gas tax pays for asphalt, but the city's general fund match is what we use for this, the concrete. And one might say, why do we do the concrete? We need to fix our surface drainage. If you fix your surface drainage, your asphalt will last longer. If we just blindly pave and we don't realign curbs and gutters that are holding water, our work won't last as long for our asphalt. So it's for longevity of a better road.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, City Clerk, please call roll.
We don't need a roll call on this one tonight.
Oh, you're right. I don't. Sorry. All right. Would you please read the second ordinance?
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with Commonwealth Economic Partners, LLC, for consulting services related to the Tax Increment Financing Program for the Paducah Riverfront Development Project. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance authorizes the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with Commonwealth Economic Partners, LLC, for services related to the Tax Increment Financing Program. This agreement authorizes the expenditure of a flat fee of $4,000 $1,000 per month during the period of time related to the state TIF approval process. The fee shall change to a flat fee of $1,750 per month after the completion of the approval process and before the city block construction phase. The flat fee shall then change to a flat fee of $3,500 per month during the city block construction phase. Further, this ordinance authorizes the payment of all outstanding balances due and payable to Commonwealth Economic Partners LLC, and this agreement shall continue until notification of cancellation by either party.
So moved.
Second.
Jim, you want to just, you and I had a quick discussion about this, but maybe the other commissioners might be interested in the background and, the context on it and kind of how the rates change and that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure thing, Mr. Mayor. Commonwealth Economics is the group that really helped us from the beginning with the creation of the TIF, and they're helping us throughout the approval process, helping us through implementation, and they'll actually help us through the reporting process, making sure we're compliant with the state rules and laws. We've been under contract with Commonwealth Economics since 2018. We've had various different renditions of the contracts. This is actually be the fourth contract with Commonwealth Economics. This one here actually stair steps us down from the current $4,000 per month, basically going into a little slower time of activity for them. So we're going to take that down to, as the proposed, $1,750 per month until it ramps back up again during the construction process. The schedule for this probably September, October area this fall. Goes back up to $3,500 per month and then remains at that rate until renegotiated or until we cancel the agreement. The agreement can be canceled at any time by either party. What the intent is basically is they get us up and running. They help us to stay compliant over the first 12 months to 18 months, really depending upon how long it takes us to get comfortable with the system, reporting to the state. And then we will just basically thank them for what they did, and they're going to teach us and wean us off, basically. So that's the intent of this, is that they bring us up to speed, help us to be compliant, and then wean us off when we're ready.
Is that pretty, any questions from anybody? Everybody good? Okay. So now we'll move to a discussion. Mr. Murphy, Rick, I think you have a guest here tonight that wants to talk about stormwater.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is a continuation of our permit with the Kentucky Division of Water with regard to remaining in compliance for SMS 4 Phase 2 stormwater, and it's more about compliance with state regulations and federal regulations. And we need to update some things in our ordinances that are more about the things that we're supposed to execute on a day-to-day basis. And I've invited John Lyons, who's been working with us for some time. John is a long time, advocate with us and worked with us well for the past 15 or 20 years with regard to this staying compliant. He's with Strand and Associates, and I'll let John just take it away and give some explanation about what we have to update in the near future to remain compliant. John, are you there?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep. Hey, John, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, commissioners. Steve, am I going to see the PowerPoint, or how are we going to handle it?
Yeah. You're just tell me when you want it to change, and we'll make sure that it does what you need it to do.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I'm starting her now.
Thank you. Excellent. Thanks, Steve. So as Rick mentioned, I've certainly met a number of you and presented at a number of past commission meetings relating to stormwater, but typically it was in regard to flooding. And tonight's discussion is really going to focus on stormwater from a water quality perspective and the state and federal regulations that you're subject to at the City of Paducah. So begin with understanding what is required. And this image on the right shows you the permit that has been issued to the City of Paducah. And it was issued to you through the Kentucky Division of Water. And it is required by the Federal Clean Water Act and a program that is called the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. So this permit was issued to you, and then it has certain requirements that you have to comply with. And this permit is typically reissued every 5 years. Next, Steve. So I hate sharing all these acronyms with you, but for the purposes of this discussion, it is pertinent for you to understand what this all means. You often hear the term MS4 in the stormwater world, and that refers to a municipal separate storm source system. And so what is an MS4? It is a conveyance or system of conveyances, including roads with drainage systems, municipal streets, catch basins, curbs, gutters, ditches, man-made channels, or storm drains. And the federal regulation requires nationwide coverage of all operators of small MS4 systems that are located within urbanized areas. And Paducah is one of those areas. And I just want to point out these images on the right. One is a head wall and the other is just a culvert pipe under a roadway. When you think of an MS4 system, like these are the components that they're talking about. And the big concern is the quality of the runoff that is being conveyed through those portions of the system that the city owns. Next slide, please. So the permit that has been issued to the city requires the city to develop a program. And that program is intended to reduce the discharge of pollutants. And it uses this term maximum extent practicable, MEP. That's a term of art that is not really well defined, and that's intentional. But your program is supposed to reduce the discharge of pollutants, protect water quality, and satisfy the requirements of the Clean Water Act. And the permit says, as part of your program, you need to have 6 very specific elements addressed in your program. And these are referred to as minimum control measures. And these are the 6 minimum control measures required in your permit. The first 2 relate to public education and public involvement. The third minimum control measure is what is referred to as illicit discharge detection and elimination. And that's to make sure that someone is going around and looking at your storm sewer outfalls that discharge to waters of the state and making sure that there aren't illicit connections and illicit discharges from that system that could impair water quality.
John, why don't you give them an example of illicit discharge? Like what would be an illicit discharge?
So an illicit discharge would be somebody dumping oils or waste into catch basins, and then those catch basins travel through your system and then discharge out into the stream. It could be straight pipes from a neighborhood or individual homes where people connect their sanitary waste directly to a storm sewer. It can be improper industrial waste discharged to your storm sewer. The only thing that's supposed to be conveyed through your storm system really is stormwater runoff from your storm sewer system. And unfortunately, over time, often illicit connections are made to storm systems because they obviously drain away from properties. And this particular control measure is intended to try to identify any of those connections that may exist and then have them removed. Minimum control measure number 4 relates to construction sites. And while a site is under construction and the land is disturbed, you often see silt fences or straw bales set up to minimize the mud and dirt that run off the site. And that's what that control measure is intended to address. And then MCM 5, which is what we're going to really kind of focus on mostly tonight, relates to post-construction runoff control. And if you think about this federal law, it was intended to reduce pollution in the runoff. So even after a site is developed, it has the potential to contribute pollution to the storm source system. And what EPA wants to see now are water quality-based controls, rain gardens, bioretention systems, et cetera, that will help clean that runoff before it's discharged. And then minimum control number 6 is really what's called municipal good housekeeping. And that's just making sure that properties that the city owns are buttoned up tight from a stormwater runoff standpoint, and they don't have storage piles or barrels of waste, et cetera, that could turn into polluted runoff and contribute to water quality problems. So that's sort of the program in a nutshell, and we're going to talk a little more detail about MCM 5. The city has developed a stormwater quality management plan per the permit, and some of the things that are required in that are development of ordinances, annual reporting, monitoring, and enforcement. Next slide, please. Just to help you all understand the magnitude of this program, this law, what's called the Phase 2 regulations, were promulgated in 1999, and there are approximately 6,700 Phase 2 MS4 communities and 104 in Kentucky. And here's some examples of some communities nearby you that also are subject to these regulations. So in essence, any urbanized area, population of 10,000 or more and a population density of 1,000 per square mile, any area that meets that definition in the country now has one of these permits. Next slide, please. So as part of KDOW's monitoring of the progress of their MS4 program, they go around to individual cities and they do inspections or they do audits. And in January 2020, Kentucky Division of Water staff came to Paducah and conducted an inspection of the program and noted that there were 3 items that they felt were out of compliance. And they gave us a due date of March 12th, 2021 to have these items resolved. And then they identified 4 what they called impending violation trends that need to be resolved by April 30th, 2023. Next slide, please. So the items that need to be addressed before March 12th, 2021 are listed on this slide. And the first item is the city needs to adopt a stormwater runoff quality treatment standard by ordinance or other regulatory mechanism and submit to the Kentucky Division of Water. And basically what that really means is we had to do a quick analysis of rainfall and determined that this particular standard that KDOW wants to be included in future development projects is to control or manage the first 0.7 inches of rainfall from post-development conditions. The second item is a declaration of maintenance obligations. And again, you have one, but they wanted this obligation to be amended to include the authority for the city to do inspections of these post-construction controls. So if you think, just imagine a commercial site or a restaurant that is constructed, it puts in one of these post-construction controls. The city now has the authority, once this declaration of maintenance obligation is revised, to do periodic inspections of those facilities. And the third item was to submit an implementation schedule for the post-construction BMP inspections. So the second 2 are really more administrative items and providing some information to the Division of Water. The first item is really the ordinance that needed to be amended for your all approval. Okay, next slide, please. And I just want to again touch on this post-construction runoff control because it's probably one of the most confusing items for folks that don't deal in the stormwater world on a daily basis. But here's some examples of some features that have put in place basically in perpetuity. These are elements or facilities that are designed to capture the runoff from a site, provide some level of water quality improvement to it before it's discharged off-site. And the whole goal of this is to sort of just knock down sediment and other pollutants that may be in the runoff, keep them on site. If you use bioretention, you know, the pollutants can be taken up by the plants, et cetera. And the whole intent of this is to, once the site is developed, from there on out, try to improve the quality of the runoff. Next slide, Steve. So the required next steps prior to March 12th, 2021, we're asking that the commission approve amending Chapter 50, Article 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the city to incorporate this new post-construction treatment standard. The declaration of maintenance agreement has been updated. We're going to need a quick legal review of that to make sure that the language is appropriate for the city. And Rick will then submit an inspection schedule to KDOW to complete all the elements that were identified in the inspection report. Next slide, please. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So one of the outcomes is we're going to have to amend an ordinance that we currently have. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And we got to get that done by March 12th.
That's correct.
So we got to plan accordingly.
Mayor, I would add that Strand and John's team have been working on this in conjunction with my office to get that. This is not going to be something that's going to be difficult to do. We already have the amended language or the text amendments that need to go in the ordinances, and they're as friendly as we can make them that will be acceptable to KDOW. Some of the things I've expressed to John is that we're not trying to set the bar for the rest of all the people to follow. We're trying to maintain a level of the regulations that are acceptable to Kentucky Division of Water, that are have the least impact to ourselves and the community, but still meet their expectations. So the things that we're asking for in the ordinance amendments are those things that are minimally acceptable by KDOW.
Does this ordinance or do any of these changes affect developers in any way?
Yes. Most of it comes in the post-construction in the minimum controls on 5. Prior to this, we've been dealing with stormwater volumes in detention basins, of which developers are not exactly happy about because they would like to develop land rather than to store water on land. This is where it's going to get more, disliked in the future, because let's just say I'm not plugging anybody, Home Depot. If you drive in front of Home Depot, you see 2 big grass ponds, or Olive Garden. You see those grass ponds out in front of them that are mowed most of the time. Well, now this requirement requires that we have some form of water cleanup before it just leaves. It's stored and leaves, but now we got to show improvement in the quality of the water leaving, of which will take somebody to inspect and work with those people and say that they are holding up their, we have agreements that we have to sign and enter into an agreement with each one of those and make sure that they live up to that. So this federal law that's pushed to the state, that's pushed to us, is becoming more and more a requirement of Paducah to enforce things that have not been enforced in the past. And it's all about a better environment.
I see. Do we have the personnel to do this, Rick? I mean, it's a separate conversation, I know, but.
No, we do not, Mayor.
When do we actually have to start enforcing it?
Well, if we have it as an ordinance, then that is something that we need to, if you have an ordinance, and you're going to need to enforce it, and again, this date that we're hitting is a milestone that we cannot wait any longer.
I see.
And Rick, if I could just add one little comment to that one of the things you will note in these inspections is the documentation that they require. And so as we're talking about providing the city the right to do inspections, and the developer who owns the BMP has to do the inspections, It's not good enough to just say, yeah, everything was inspected. When Kentucky Division of Water comes to Paducah, they're going to say, show me the documentation you have of the date and time and the results of every inspection that you did. And that does take manpower. And but from a regulatory compliance standpoint, I just want to remind everybody that that level of documentation is expected and quite frankly required with this latest permit.
So, one of the things that concerns me is the effect on developers. And I mean, it is what it is. So we have to comply and we have to implement. But I think the communication with developers is really important. John, have you seen any best practices in other communities, in implementing things like this, communicating with developers? I mean, getting out ahead of this sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Mayor. And there's two stakeholders that are going to be very important, really, or key stakeholder groups are going to be important to making this work. One is the development community, and the other is the engineering design community. And when you look at, for instance, the pictures I showed you on the examples of post-construction best management practices, some of those can be very expensive. They can be high maintenance. And a number of communities that have been doing this for, say, 10 or 15 years, I think there's a lot of lessons learned there of what are the most efficient ways to achieve compliance with these regulations, while at the same time minimizing the long-term maintenance burden that can be associated with some of these. So there's certainly lessons learned. There's certainly good information out there, but it's going to be very important that the design engineers understand how to do those designs. And at the end of the day, most developers are concerned with what are the upfront costs going to be? Are there going to be time delays? And then what are my long-term obligations if they maintain ownership of the property? Right. And there's information out there that can help move that learning process along relatively smoothly.
Okay, well, Rick, we can continue this discussion with Jim, about developers and how we can try to help ourselves and help them as we go through it. It's just, I do hear from time to time, feedback from developers, and I know that this will, probably at times not make them happy. So communication on the upfront, I think, is important.
Well, Mayor, I would also share, this is an unfunded mandate pressed by the federal government to the state, to us. And the main thing I want people to understand, this is not the city of Paducah developing some regulatory responsibility that's not anywhere else. This is absolute federal government forced upon us to do these things. And that's the hardest thing to get folks to understand, is that this is not people at Paducah that are requiring this. This is people at the federal government level and the state requiring us to do.
Right. And like you said earlier, it's for a better environment. And, so you have to assume that, there's been a lot of thought put into it. But, again, I think communication is really important as we go into this. But, that's a discussion for another day.
And one thing that they've done, that we're in the third permit cycle. Every permit cycle, they keep moving the bar up higher and higher. They started low, then they moved it up, and now they move it up. And the next permit cycle, they'll even ask for more.
Well, that's what we have to deal with. So we have to figure out how to deal with it. So,
yes, sir.
John, thank you for being here and helping us. And for those of you who haven't met John before, he's the author of the infamous Paducah Stormwater Infrastructure Plan. He and his team, from a couple of years ago. All of our commissioners have a copy of that stormwater plan, John, and we've had some pretty good discussions, and I think there's probably more to come. So we, any or all of us may be reaching out to talk with you about that plan, or any insight that you might have about any number of things related to it. So,
Sure. Happy to answer any questions, Mayor.
okay, great. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? I didn't mean to hog the mic, sorry. Okay, with that, make sure to keep me straight, but I think we're ready to go to comments from any of the commissioners or myself. And we'll start with comments from our city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And speaking upon the stormwater issue we just talked about, just want to thank the commissioners and leadership team for the wonderful strategic plan session we had over this past weekend at the board retreat. Myself, Lindsay Parrish, Michelle have a debriefing session, if you will, set up for this Friday, and we'll get the documents ready for presentation to this body, hopefully next week for informal review. And we're hoping to have something ready for the next board meeting for you guys to digest. If not, we'll have it for the first meeting in March, but we are working on putting that plan together. Any questions about that? Okay.
Not from me, no.
Good, thank you. Now, the next thing I have is just to update the board that we are moving forward with the working with the search committee or search firms, if you will, for the city manager's replacement. We have 2 interviews set for Tuesday, another interview set for Wednesday. So we hopefully will have that selected firm under contract here for the next week or 2. So we're making progress with that. 3 good proposals. I think it's going to be a hard decision, pick which firm, but I was very pleased with each proposal that we got. Any questions about that?
Just a quick, I'll mention this. I've looked at the 3 proposals. You know, they're all very, very professional. I think it's really just a matter of picking, you know, what we think is the right fit. You know, maybe, you know, personalities, experience. We'll just have to go through that, but you know, we're off and running.
Commissioner Wilson, you were going to say something?
I was just going to ask, so will you bring that proposal back to us for like at the next meeting 2 weeks from tonight? Is that kind of the plan, or?
Good. I was not planning on doing that. I was going to engage. They're all under the city manager's authority. So I was going to, the pick from myself, the mayor, Michelle, I was going to engage them just to get the ball rolling faster.
Okay, that's fine.
But certainly we'll share, you know, any and all information about everything that's going on here. You know, we want each of you to be, you know, totally in the know on the process. So we'll figure that out. But we want to keep moving.
That's well said. And the last thing I have is just to let the board know that we have a representative from MARAD from the Department of Transportation coming on the 23rd. She will be here at 9 a.m. to do a walkthrough of the Bill Grant area. This is a representative from MARAD that was not able to attend back almost a year ago when they were here originally prior to COVID setting in. This is their environmental specialist, and so she's critical to this project. She'll be here meeting with myself and Ty, Melanie, and Rick. So Mr. Mayor, if you're able to attend, we'd love to have you as well. And Commissioner Wilson, since you're very familiar with the project, if you're able to attend, we'd love to have you as well.
Thank you.
And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. Commissioners, anybody raise their hand? Anybody have any comments? Commissioner Wilson?
I just wanted to ask, I mean, I know that you and Judge Clymer are working diligently on the vaccine distribution, and you may be going to include that in your comments. If there's anything that you could share with us and anything more with the community about it. I know that you had said that the city was willing to help with phone calls and to do whatever our part could be to help move it along. So where are we? Any updates?
Yeah, so you know, I'm in the working group, you know, the CEOs of the 2 hospitals and the chief medical officers of the 2 hospitals, the judge and I, and Kid Coster from the health department kind of make up a working group of trying to stay on the same page and understand what's going on. Obviously, we're dependent upon getting vaccine and getting enough vaccine. So we got some information this morning that at least I know that Lourdes, and I assume Baptist is the state has guaranteed that we're going to get our weekly allotment, which I believe is 500 vials, and it's going to keep coming, and it's going to keep coming into at least for the next 3 or 4 cycles, the next 3 or 4 weeks. The health department also gets a separate allocation other than the 2 hospitals. And their allocation has to go not only to the health department here in McCracken County, but the other 4 counties that they're responsible for. I offered city employees to help in calling and setting up appointments, taking calls and setting up vaccine appointments. One of the feedbacks, some of the feedback that we've gotten from the community is that not everybody has internet access. Not everybody is comfortable in accessing, the hospital's websites. And so I just felt like it was really important that, here we are in COVID, the customer experience department reports up to Lindsay Parrish. And, in talking with Jim and Lindsay, we felt like they had some bandwidth. So we started that process. They showed up yesterday morning at the health department at 8 o'clock, and they went through training. And Lindsay could probably give you more information than I can, but yesterday was a pretty crazy day. We had a lot of starts and a lot of stops. The health department has contracted with a company, correct me, Lindsay, if I'm misstating this, that kind of gathers the information that the people that have registered, and then does robocalls out to notify them to call a number and say that they're ready to be registered. And so we had all these calls coming, and anyway, we've worked through all that. I actually was down talking with a couple of our customer experience reps today, Donna and Alex, who sit down front, and they were just they showed me the calendar where they'd set up all these calls with people, and they're communicating with me about some of the conversations they've had with people. One lady, Alex told me today, one lady actually burst into tears today when she finally got hold of somebody who could get her registered to get a vaccination. That is the kind of fear and the kind of, trepidation, uncertainty that's out there in our community about getting these vaccines. And so, we're doing our part. But, the big problem that we got, there's been a lot of discussion about what was the plan, to get people vaccinated. And everybody's got 20/20 hindsight. We could have done it better, could have done it this way, could have done it that way. But the big issue is we just haven't had enough vaccine, to really get a lot of people registered. And so as that vaccine frees up, I think, things will get better. So I don't know if anybody's got any feedback from anyone in the community that they've heard that of somebody that got registered or talked to any of our people. I know that under Lindsay's leadership, we've done exceptional training. We're talking to people, just in a way that is trying to be helpful. And we're trying to make sure nothing drops through the cracks. We're following up. If we get a voicemail, we're taking those voicemails and getting right back with people. So we're trying, obviously, not to make mistakes and to handle this with tender, loving care. Lindsay, do you have anything that you would might like to add?
I would just say that this week, as of yesterday and today, our team that was CX plus a member of the PD and also 2 of our parks representatives, we worked together yesterday and today, and we were able to get all of the available slots filled for this week for the vaccine through the health department. So the number that they had, those are filled for this week. We will reconvene with the health department on Friday and work through the next week, however many we have, getting those out to people. So, and overall, just to echo what the mayor said about people are very relieved and very grateful when they get that call that there's a vaccine ready for them. So.
Are these people that have registered with the health department already that you guys are calling for the 1B?
They are people that have already registered with the health department in the group that they are serving right now. Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Sure.
Thank
Any other questions about that? Thank you. Commissioner Henderson, you're on mute.
How are we handling those who have registered, but to this point haven't heard from anyone? Are we going back and trying to grab hold of some of those people who've already registered but haven't heard anything?
No, we're not. The straight answer is we're not calling people. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lindsay, but I don't believe we're calling people that we don't have a vaccine for. So we're telling people you will get the vaccine when the vaccine is available. So I think we find it difficult to call people and say, hang on, the vaccine's coming. We're just asking people to be patient.
From my conversation I had with the health district, there's 8,000 people registered for the vaccine, and we've called less than 300 this week.
Wow.
It's going to take some time.
Any other questions on that, or any other comments from commissioners? Okay, the only comment that I've got really is just kind of echoing what City Manager Jim said. I thought our strategic planning session was awesome. I mean, I got a lot out of it. I mean, I think, you know, we got everything out on the table. There was a lot of candor. You know, we talked through things that were important to each of us. We looked at things that overlaid, you know, that were important to multiple people. And I really think that we've got, you know, a good list of priorities and a list of priorities that we can focus on. So we were successful in shrinking, you know, the priority list, which I think is really going to help us in the next year. Now, there's a lot of work to be done. And certainly the community is going to be, you know, waiting to see, you know, how we're going to focus on some of these issues. You know, people are interested in how we're going to spend the 20 million. There's lots of comments out there in the community about the outdoor sports park. So there's, you know, lots of feedback, mostly all good feedback. And so we got lots of work ahead of us, you know, to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. But the strategic plan, I thought, was an excellent start. And I really appreciate everybody, you know, the way we interacted. I thought it was excellent. So I came out of there stepping kind of high. So I was enthused. So we don't have any comments, you know, from the community tonight, and we don't have an executive session. So if there are no other comments, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
City Manager, our city clerk, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guess,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
We lost Commissioner Henderson at some point.
okay. Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. Do we have a problem with having lost Commissioner Henderson? Are we okay here?
We still have a quorum, and he was here with us right until your last comments, Mr. Mayor, and that's when he popped off.
Okay. He probably hit the wrong button somewhere. So, okay, we stand adjourned.
Everyone be careful.
Yeah, it's gonna be slick tomorrow.
Take care.